Welcome to the Creative Spirits Podcast. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Cheryl Benji, and today I have an amazing guest. Her name is Erin Bina, and she was my party planner for my daughter's bat mitzvah. And I just had the best time with her and planning and organizing, and she just made everything so easy. And when I got to know her, I also got to know her story and how she's only been doing this for 2 or 3 years. And what I admired about her is how she went from one career and started going into another one because what she was doing before just wasn't as satisfying and didn't feel as good as it used to. So this was inspiration for me, and I hope that our interview will be also inspirational for you wherever you're maybe stuck in life and maybe you need a new change. I don't know if you noticed, but this is my new studio space. The colors are a little bit different. It used to be a blue background, and hopefully you can go on my Instagram page at CherylBenji_art to see how I have changed up my studio space, starting things new. And I feel like we can all do that in some way or another in our lives. And I hope this interview sparks that inside you to create that change, whatever it is in your life, and see what magic you can create from that. So stay tuned and let me know in the comments what you thought of this interview. Hey, Erin.
Hi,
How are you?
I'm so good. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to finally have you on because we've been talking about this, especially ever since Shaya's bat mitzvah, which you were my party coordinator for. And it's actually the first time I've had a party coordinator for anything.
Really?
Yeah.
Wait, you didn't have a party planner for your wedding?
Nope.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
impressive.
And I wasn't in charge of it. My in-laws were pretty much like they did everything. And I even told my husband, I'm like, they didn't have anyone coordinate this for them or plan it out. And he's like, nope, we
Wow,
did it
you're a
all
very
ourselves.
easygoing bride then.
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't really get into a lot of things. Like this, I pretty much showed up and just
Wow.
my dress and maybe the flowers a little bit, but
Yeah.
not even the cake. Yeah.
Why? Why you didn't want to be involved, you didn't want the stress, you didn't
I didn't
want
want the stress. It
Yeah.
was, yeah, I get overwhelmed by
Yeah.
all these things. So I just thought, it's okay. And we ended up getting the wrong cake too, but it was even better than the cake. There were two weddings that night. So there was a
Wow.
switch by accident and we got the better cake. I felt so bad afterwards because the guy from
That's
the wedding,
hysterical.
yeah, the guy from the wedding, that same night, he asked Bobby, he's like, "Hey, did you guys have the right cake last night?" And he's like, "I'm not sure," because he didn't even know what the cake looked like.
Yeah,
Bobby
he
didn't
didn't
know.
even know.
And yeah, we had a much nicer, like 3, 4 tier cake. So
Wow. Should have
so
been.
it worked out. I feel like when you let go and just sometimes don't overstress and maybe to
Yes.
micromanage everything, things turn out the way they're supposed to, and it
That's
turns out fine.
amazing. Most brides wouldn't be able to relinquish that kind of control on such an important day.
Yeah.
So, but you are so easygoing. Having gotten
Um,
to know you, you are so easygoing. You don't like the stress, but you did such a great job when we were planning Shaya's bat mitzvah. So
yeah.
it's surprising that you kind of like wanted to take a back seat to your wedding, but
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just, yeah, it was too much stress. And for me, the important part was, marrying the person I really love, just enjoying that night with him instead of stressing
yeah.
out so much. And, you know,
Well, I'm
a
sure
lot
you
of people
got,
get into fights like because of, all the planning. I'm
Wedding
sure you,
planning is probably the hardest on couples. I mean, I enjoy it immensely, the planning process and getting to know the couples and all of that. But I always see how stressful it is on them, no matter what. It's just the pressure of that day. There's so much on the bride and the groom, and there's so many decisions that need to be made, and there's a lot of family dynamics at play and all of that. So it can get really stressful for people and
yes,
hard,
yes,
you know.
yes,
I
I
find
agree.
I find weddings to be much more stressful on individuals than like bar and bat mitzvahs or anniversary parties or birthday parties or things like that. So yeah, it can get that part can get tough.
I can see that. And I wanted you to come here to talk about your journey and how you became the party planner. And I know you're such a creative person. You did such an amazing job helping out and planning out Shaya's bat mitzvah. I would not have been able to envision that myself, even though people are like, "What? You're an artist." But I feel like um, we all have our creative talents in certain areas, and just because I'm an artist doesn't mean like I'm gonna know how to really decorate my room or, have that same vision of, like doing a party. And because I came into it with a completely different vision. And then as we went through it together, we're like, oh, well, that might not work. And that's going to cost a little bit more extra. And hey, why don't we
Yes.
make these modifications? And it just all turned out so much better than I had envisioned myself. So I'm so happy I had you there. And it was just so nice. Like I said, we were talking earlier about how when I told you my vision, you were just so excited. Like when I brought up, I want to have fairies and I want to do a blessings cup with like,
Yeah.
paint pouring down it. And, like when you got excited as well about it, it made me feel even better and excited, even more excited. And I think that's what's so beautiful about a creative collaboration. And
Exactly.
yeah, I just wanted to know more about your story. Tell our audience, how you started and what inspired you to become a party planner.
Sure. Well, thank you for having me.
Of
So
course.
nice to be on this and so kind of you to invite me to talk about it. Um, so I started off in television production and development. I was developing reality television for a long time out of college. Um, and it just, it was a wonderful experience. Production really can prepare you for so much. There's just a lot of dynamics at play. But at the end of the day, it wasn't very fulfilling. You would develop these shows, you would try to sell them to networks or what have you, and you know, only like 1 in 10 sell. I don't even know if that statistic is true, but it's not. You don't just go into a network and they buy something and then you see it come to fruition. It's quite rare, I think, that they get pitches all the time. So seeing my shows come to fruition was something that was important to me, but there was no real gratification from it because it was very difficult to get to that point. So I always loved building and creating and seeing my work come to life. And so I thought after, I think it was like 7 years, that I I I gained so much knowledge and experience from production, from development, from all the amazing executives that I had the pleasure of working with and for. And I thought I can move my talents to something else. And event planning was the most natural thing that came to my mind. I have done it for friends and family, and it's just something that I was super passionate about. And I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go in that direction. And the good people at Macy's special events took a little chance on me, gave me the opportunity. And so I was at Macy's special events for a while. And, we did micro events across the country. We did fashion shows. We did celebrity product launches. I got to help with the Macy's fireworks show in New York and the Macy's Thanksgiving Day parade and all these fun things. And it really just gave me such joy and light in my life. And I really enjoyed it so much. And after a while, it did become a little mundane. I don't know. It just, when you're working with a corporation, there's only so much leeway you have, and that's just how it is. So eventually I left and I went to Four Seasons, which is a hotel chain, and I worked in the PR and marketing department there, and I got to connect with all departments in hospitality, bringing, their visions to life, and so to speak, in the sense of publicity. What are we doing for our Thanksgiving menu? What new health and wellness package are we going to be offering to our guests this month? Whatever it may be, you get to dabble in everything, and you get to dabble in, the events and catering production that they have as well. And so it was very eye-opening and kind of gave me a well-rounded understanding of how businesses work and how different parts of creativity work, whether it's culinary, events, marketing, front of house, back of house, whatever it may be. There's a production involved in that. And so that was really eye-opening and beneficial for me. And I took all of this knowledge, I took it all from production to television development to Macy's special events to marketing and PR. And I thought, I'm gonna do this on my own now, which is the scariest thing, to step out on your own and to believe in yourself and to kind of take one step in front of the next, and just kind of build your own business. And it's all word of mouth. And I love every single second of it. It brings me immense joy to meet all of the people I get to meet, whether it's working with incredible vendors and creatives in that way, or meeting new clients and getting to know them and their families. And it's just, I have found such a purpose in this, and I just love it so much.
Yeah, and I saw it with how you interacted with me and just the way how enthusiastic you were every time we'd get together and go through everything. And you could just see it that you really love what you do. And that's what made me want to bring you on here, because I feel like so many people, they go through their lives doing something that doesn't really fulfill them, and they stay stuck and they are afraid to move on to the next thing. And hearing your story, I think is inspiring, maybe for others to also jump and take that next move and not be so afraid. And I love that it's word for me, my teaching, and even people getting to know about my artwork, a lot of it's been word of mouth.
Yeah.
I'm on social media too, but I think, and that's what's beautiful. It just shows that what you're doing is working, and you're getting out there. So that's amazing.
Yeah.
Um, and have you always loved creating? Did you know you wanted to
have a career doing something creative?
I think so. When I was younger, when I had to do like my dioramas or whatever in school, like I would always build. I was always building a scene. I was always painting. I was always wanting to create something beautiful. Um, Visually. Like I love seeing something come to life visually. And so I always thought, out of I originally thought I would do interior design. And then I don't know, life took me in a different direction to television, which was funny, but it led me back here. It led me back to what I think I'm supposed to be doing, which is event design, event production, event planning. And it has been the most fulfilling, the most fun. You know, every single event I do is so different and unique to the client and to the event itself. So it's so creatively driven every single time I get to work on a new project. I get to bring it to life. I get to help somebody bring their vision to life, which honestly gives me immense joy and drives creativity. You had such a vision. You had such a vision. You wanted Shaya's garden. You wanted some like an enchanted garden for Shaya, and you had your vision and then we walked the space. We talked about the color palette. We talked about everything and then we kind of just take it step by step and we build it together and we see what makes the most sense and what's going to look the best in the space and with the coloring and do we take it super literally or do we make it Shaya's garden and her garden doesn't have to be these jewel colors or it doesn't have to be what you would expect in a garden. It could be silvers and pinks and purples and it's Shaya's. This is Shaya's day and we can make her version of a garden. And that's what it's all about. It's just talking through things, finding what works best for you and your family and Shaya and building on that and bringing that to life. And that's what I get to do with every single client. It's I take their vision because at the end of the day, none of these events are my events. These are other people's events that, I'm helping to bring their vision to life. These are memories that they're going to have forever. Very, very special occasions for them and their family. So my job is to facilitate that and to bring that vision to life and to enhance it where I can enhance it and where the budget allows. And, it's just kind of this ride, this journey that we go on. A lot of clients say like, well, how much is this going to cost? Or like, what do you think this is going to cost? And it's hard because I can never say like, oh, this is going to be $57,623.20. It's incredibly difficult to do something like that. At the end of the day, it's your money that you're spending. I'm not spending that money. It's your money that you're spending, and we go through a journey and we see, okay, well, what is your best case scenario? What do you want? And we try to make that happen with with the budget that you're comfortable with. And as we go through that journey, that fluctuates, maybe you're willing to spend a little bit more because this photographer is super important to you. Um, Maybe you're willing to spend more on the photographer, but that means you're going over budget. Maybe we cut someplace else. It's just a balancing act. And that's the hardest part, but also part of the fun because, you're not going to spend all your money on one day. So, it's just kind of finding that balance of making it a really special moment for your family, but also feeling good about what resources you've given to it, and balancing it in that way.
Right. And it sounds like you like the variety of how each event is different and there's some adventure to it. And it's not like going to a desk job and always doing the same thing over and over again. You get
Right.
to have new experiences.
Yeah, that's the most fun. That's the most fun. Is
Yeah.
that, okay, on this day I'm building Shaya's enchanted garden. The next day I'm building, Ella's LA experience. And the next day I'm building, you know, Corey and Alex's dream wedding. It's it's every day is unique and brings different adventures, different types of creativity. The incredible vendors that I get to bring on, that I get to work with, you know, it's whether it's a specialty linen company and we're using this really cool linen for a Vegas theme to elevate like the adult experience versus like the kids are going to have communal tables or whatever. Getting to work with graphic designers and bringing logos and patterns together and kind of building events based on those color palettes and that imagery, and where are we going to use this logo, where are we going to use this pattern, how are we going to build a swag station, do we need it to be an actual shop, do you just want it to be a backdrop, what are we going to have on it, all of the details. It's what makes events so special. And every event has their own special details and their own special and their own special build outs and fabrications and being in that world and getting to do that every day is incredibly fulfilling, especially for a creative, because that it's all creative outlets. It's like you're just building these beautiful events one after another and creating incredible memories for these families. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's not just about building an event, building a beautiful event, sure, that's part of what I do, and I take great pride in that. But and the other aspect is that you're creating an experience for a family, that memories that they're going to hold dear in their family for decades to come. If you have a videographer at your son's bar mitzvah, your son's going to show that to their kids one day. You're going to have a photo album of this. You're going to show it to your friends. You're going to show it to your family. These are going to be memories that live on for generations. And so that is something I take really seriously. And that's why I think I love doing this so much, is because, there's so much heaviness in the world always, and these moments you get to put all of that aside, and you have to smile. You have to smile, you have to dance, you have to come together, and you have to have joy in these moments. And it takes you out of all of that other stuff, that other noise that doesn't matter, and sucks you in to joy. And I think like there's something incredibly special about that.
Yes, and I also wasn't expecting, and my family wasn't expecting to walk into the room for the first time and to see, because you have your vision, but we don't see it all until we get there. Like everything is kind of like compartmentalized,
Yeah.
and then when it all comes together and you see it, I mean, when we walked in there, it just, wow, it took my breath away. And Shaya, she hugged me and she's like, "Oh my gosh, mommy, thank you so much. I love this." And coming from
It's the
her,
best. It's the
yeah,
best feeling.
it was.
That's the
Yeah.
moment. That's the best feeling. It's like, because you trusted the process and you trusted me, and that was, there's nothing more that you can ask of somebody than, you know, to than to have trust.
Yeah.
And, it's very easy for me to envision how all of these parts are going to come together to create a bigger vision, right? A
Yeah.
bigger, to create the event, and to create that space. But it's incredibly hard, I think, for some people to envision things like that. There's just so many moving parts,
Yeah.
so many random things that we're getting. And then you're like, how does this all come together? But it does. Once you see it all together, that's where the magic happens. It's very hard to, we get florals here, you get linens there, you get lighting here, you get AV there, it's like you get rentals over here, how bars over there. It's like, how does this all come together? Like, it's very easy in my mind. I just like see it. But I don't think that that's necessarily true with everybody who could just kind of see it. You have to really walk people through the process, or you just have to trust that you're going to walk into your space and it's going to take your breath away in some respect. Um, and and then like, oh, this is where my resources went, and this is all worth it. Like, this is going to be the best night. We're going to make the best memories. We're going to have the best time. And it just floods you with excitement and joy. And that's what it's all about.
Absolutely. For my son's, my oldest, his bar mitzvah, I did that all myself, but he was a
Yeah, I
lot.
don't know how you did that.
Yeah.
You deserve an award for your wedding, and for not having a planner for your wedding, for not having a planner for your son's bar mitzvah.
Well, the wedding, I mean, that was all my in-laws, which I appreciate so much. I heard also like the more religious, they do the same, like the Orthodox Jews, the families take care of it all and they just show up. And I was like, wow, that's pretty much what
That's
I do.
amazing. Kudos.
Yeah, kudos.
Kudos.
And but yeah, because he wasn't I would ask him like, Noah, what would you like? And do you want this? You want I don't care, Mom. Yeah, sure. Sure. And he's still
Typical
that way.
boy. Typical
Yeah.
boy. Whatever. I don't
Sure.
care. It's fine.
Okay. So he was super easy. And the only problem I had was when the flowers showed up and uh it was like this big arrangement and water was dripping from it. Yeah,
Uh-oh.
because I had music notes made into like the flowers, and one of them was kind of slanted.
Oh,
And
well,
because
that's
he
very
wanted a music
creative.
theme. Yeah, he wanted a music and what the florist told me he would do, well, it didn't exactly turn out all of it the way it was supposed to, and some of them were more slanted, so the water started dripping onto the tablecloth, and I had to, when I got there, I was like, oh no. And I had to go get staff to go change the tablecloth and do
Oh
something
my
about
gosh.
that. So,
Yeah.
that made me think, well, maybe I need someone to help me. And Shia just wanted more, like, I want a montage. How do I even, I don't even know what to do. Like, oh, do I need to be a
Although
screen?
Bobby did an incredible job
Yeah.
on that montage.
He did. He did.
Yes.
And so but just to think of like, okay, there needs to be a screen and someone in the background who's playing it and like the sound and this and that. Like I just didn't know where to start and
Yeah.
I was like, I am not going to, create brain damage over this. It's just
No,
not worth it. And
it's not
so
worth it.
no, so I think it's worth the investment. And if anyone's ever thinking of having a party planner, first of all, I totally recommend you. And if you're in the LA area, um, yeah, it was a lifesaver, game changer for me. And I'm so glad I did it because I don't know if I would have gotten through it the way I did that night.
Yeah, that I think that would have been when you have so many moving parts, when you have ferries, when you have AV and lighting and the types of rentals that we had and the florals and when you have all of these moving parts, it's I think it's very difficult to do it on your own logistically. Um, I think, listen, a lot of people do it on their own. And it's commendable, but it is very difficult to put it all together and to execute it flawlessly, I think, on your own. It's
Yeah.
just it takes some knowledge and know-how of the different elements, I think, to put it all together and to make it run smoothly. So I'm proud of you for kind of recognizing that you needed it in this instance. Sometimes you need it and sometimes you don't, but I hope that it's worth it, it's I hope that it's worth it to do it because it takes a lot of the stress off of you,
Oh, yes.
and
Oh,
then you're
yeah.
not running around like a chicken with your head cut off, like, okay, is this going to play correctly? Did the montage get sent to the right person? Is the right logo going to play at the right time? Is the correct lighting gonna, the correct coloring gonna be there? Is the rental company going to show up on time? Is it going to be placed in the right direction? Is it, it's just so many, like that's like the bare minimum. I mean, there's so much more I can go into, but it's just not worth the stress. You
No.
can't enjoy those big moments and those days, and make those memories when your mind is focused on all the other stuff. It's just
Yes.
not possible.
Yeah. 100%. I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah.
Um, did you ever have any doubts or setbacks when you first started? And how did you get through that?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's always a tinge of self-doubt, when you're starting a business. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Are people going to call me? Are people going to recommend me? I think you always have those moments, but you have to also believe that, like for myself, I've had the experience. I've gone through so many iterations of careers, but they all blend in very nicely to what I do now. And I just you have to believe in yourself. Like you have to know that it is going to be challenging and there are going to be setbacks. And it's not going to be like, oh, you make an Instagram page and all of a sudden you're flooded with inquiries,
Yeah.
It's you have to know that it's slow and steady, and it's about relationships, and it's about the way you treat people, and it's about the way you build events and how you do it and how you execute it. And the more you do in any industry, as long as you do it the best you can and with pride, and you take it as seriously as you would treat it for yourself, for your family, which I do with every client, you know, you'll get there. You just have to put one foot in front of the other. And you have to believe in yourself and your abilities and in the education and in the experience that you've had for any industry, that now you can do this for yourself and you can build something great for yourself and for your family. And a lot of people, I think, want to go from like A to Z super quickly. And, that's a tough one. In business, it just doesn't always happen that way. I
Right.
think it rarely happens that way. There are those cases, but I think it rarely happens that way. And you just slow and steady wins the race. And you keep believing in yourself and you keep doing good work and you keep building those relationships. and it will come.
Yeah. I think people they see the overnight success and
Right.
they
But they
think
don't see the journey that that has taken, you
and the
know?
failures and setbacks and difficulties that that person has faced and that they started this 10 years ago, but they
Yeah.
don't see that.
Yeah.
And that's something I think it's important to address is that these things take time. And yeah, there might be a moment where you've been doing it for so many years, it's not really gotten anywhere. And then maybe, okay, let's think of something new and different. But
Right.
like you
Right.
said, slow and steady. And if it's really something, it's starting to slowly grow, then
Right.
it's worth
Right.
sticking
But
to.
if you don't start, you'll never know,
You'll never know. Yeah.
you know? And that's the thing. People get so scared to start.
To just
They,
start.
they get paralyzed with the thought of, well, how do I even start?
Right.
But you just, it's just about little steps forward, you
Yes.
know? And if you just take one small step forward and conquer that, then you can take the next step forward and conquer that. And it will become much easier, these steps that you take forward. And then you can take more steps forward more quickly and build on that. And but if you if you don't start, then you can't go anywhere.
Right.
You have to move yourself forward. You have to get out of bed,
You have to get
right?
them.
You have to get out of bed. You have to go brush your teeth. Yeah, like what do we do every day? Okay, do that for yourself, for your business. Just start.
Just
Just
start.
move yourself forward, even if it's an inch. The next day will be 2 inches. The next day it will be 12 inches. Like just keep going and you'll see it build.
Yes, yes, I agree. And let's say someone wanted to become a party planner. I remember we were talking about this too when we were
Mhm.
out.
Yeah.
It's not something you could just jump into. Like, I remember you said you recommend someone come and work for another party planner,
Yeah.
like kind of
Yeah.
intern, do something where they can see what it's like and gain experience. Because it's a big project to take on not having that experience.
Yes, yes. I I personally don't think you can just jump into it. I wouldn't recommend just jumping into it. I've had many iterations of a career before I w was confident enough to take this on my own.
Yes.
And I think, working under a planner and gaining that experience or working, there's a lot of different avenues that you can take. You can work for a corporation. You can work in television. Listen, a lot of industries translate to other industries.
Yes.
So there's no shame in that game. You don't have to work underneath a planner. I didn't work underneath a planner. I had a different journey. But I don't, you're managing large budgets. You're managing a lot of different people, a lot of different personalities. You are managing a million different vendors, and you have to gain relationships with these vendors, and you have to have a wealth of vendors that you can pull from depending on what your needs are, what your budgets are, things like that. Um, you want to get to know other people in the industry and 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 build those relationships. It's a lot of logistics, a lot of logistical planning. So it's not just a creative industry, which is the part that I love the most, but just as important are the logistics, because without proper logistics, you don't have an event. It falls apart. So
Yes.
you also have to know, you can't just be a creative, you also have to take the logistics of it super seriously and know how to build that and bring that to fruition. So there's so much that goes into event planning, event production, design, all of that, execution, that I don't know that you can just jump into it. Like, I think, listen, everybody can plan a party, everybody can plan their kid's party or a party at their house or whatever it may be. But when you're talking about large scale events. You're talking about inviting 300 people, 150 people, or whatever it may be, and giving them an experience and making sure that everything is working properly, that everything visually is where it needs to be, everything is produced at a level that you can feel proud about. This is the money. You've put so much time, effort, resources into this one day. You don't want that day to fall apart.
Yes.
And that's on my shoulders, and I take it incredibly seriously. So I wouldn't say that you just jump into it, but I think, gain the experience so you feel confident that you know every part of the job, whatever it is, so that you can do it at an expert level.
Yes, yes. Uh, do you have any funny stories or like things that where it didn't turn out like the way you thought, or some adventure, like something that's interesting that,
I do have a funny story. I don't know that well, okay. I do have a story of something that fell apart. It was a big first birthday party.
okay.
Because in the Persian community, first birthday parties are a big deal. And a lot of them go all out
Yeah.
and they throw these extravagant, fun, very Kim K birthday parties for their kids. And I was doing one of those, and the cake, some the person who did the cake said it did not need to be refrigerated. So I
Wow.
did not refrigerate it. And about, I don't know, 3 hours.
Was it a hot day?
It was a hot day. No,
Uh-oh.
was it a hot day? I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah, it was. It must have been a hot day, because it was in June.
Okay.
Um, and I went but it was in a kitchen. It wasn't outside. It was in the
Okay.
kitchen. It was just room temperature. And it had melted. The entire cake just melt. And this was the smash cake. I'll be more specific. This was the
Oh, yeah.
smash. So this is like
No.
the most important of the cakes, because this is where
Okay.
you get those funny photos of like the kid going in and having their first taste of sugar. And
Oh, no.
yeah, it's supposed to be like the cutest moment of the party. And I walk into the kitchen to check on the cake to put like the candles in, and it had completely melted.
But was it an ice cream cake? I mean,
No, no,
what?
it was a regular cake.
Oh
It was a
no.
cake. I don't know. But this is where your relationships come in. And I called the vendor and I explained what happened. And I kid you not, within an hour and a half, I had a new cake.
Wow.
Yeah. And because my heart dropped, I was like,
I'm sure.
what am I going to do? And I guess I would have just taken everything off and I would have just smoothed it out. And
You
it
would
just
have made an
made
Erin
a
Bina
more,
cake
yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna get some props.
a la
I don't
Erin.
know. But luckily the vendor came through for me and dropped off a new cake.
Wow.
And that's what I mean when I say you have to have these relationships, because those are the people who are going to bend over backwards for you to
Right.
make sure you look good and to make sure your party goes smoothly.
Because you're going to be referring them too
Yeah,
later.
I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course. But next time we put the cakes in the
In the,
refrigerator, no matter what.
no matter what.
Yeah, and listen, it's a lesson learned for myself, and I think for them also. We
Yeah.
all learn our little lessons from these mishaps.
Because I'm
But
sure you went like, really? Like, let's keep it out? Like nothing's gonna
yeah, but
happen?
some I don't know how, like what's in, what kind of ingredients and like
Yeah.
okay, maybe it's going to be frozen or something if I put it in the refrigerator. So I trusted what they said.
Right. I would too.
Yeah,
Yeah, if they
and
say
it just
don't put it in the fridge. Okay. Yeah.
yeah, I will always remember that. I will also
Uh-huh.
always remember a client of mine who this is just funny. Okay, it's
Okay.
just or wacky. I don't know. Maybe this
Okay.
is something normal that people do, and I didn't realize it until this happened. But I was planning a big beautiful wedding, and we were we were getting the invitations together, right? But we hadn't been sent them yet. And we had just chosen the envelopes and all of that. And the client said to me, "Can you see if they can send you um, one of the envelopes? I want to test the viscosity of the glue on the envelope to make sure that it's sticky enough."
Okay.
I, this was a new one for me. This
Yeah,
was a
I've
new one
never
for
heard that before.
no. Of course we will get an envelope to test the viscosity, but I would never have, like, it's just funny. Like, I just would never have thought that that would be a concern. That's never
Right.
been a concern of mine. I've never had an envelope where it just didn't like where it didn't work properly, or the
Right.
glue didn't work properly. So, but she was, very, everybody has their things.
Their
And
thing.
it's very funny sometimes what their things are. Because what
That's
my things would be are completely the opposite.
different. Yeah.
That's not something I would have necessarily worried about.
Yeah.
But she was super worried about it. So,
Maybe
okay,
she had a bad experience before with it. And so,
maybe,
yeah.
maybe.
Because
But that
I think about like stuff I would do different. Every party I have, I'm like, oh, I would do this differently, just like Noah's, where there was water dripping everywhere. And even the venue
yes,
where we had it, they were like, you have to leave at this time, otherwise you're going to be charged. And then they came out like exactly at like 9:30. They came and like, because we had to leave at 10. And I had to make sure people were there on time. And, we're Persian, we don't always show up on time. But it was so stressful,
it's too stressful.
having it to get everyone. I'm like, I'm never having any events at that venue again. And it was a nice venue, but they were just such like they weren't very nice
Flexible.
about the
Yeah.
so, and Shaya's party even I would have done some things different with the photographer, and I you 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 learn. You live and
Yeah,
learn and
exactly.
yeah.
We live, we learn, we figure it out, but that's just a part of it. That's part of life. Nothing's ever perfect,
Yeah.
and
There's going to be
it's hard to
mistakes.
accept that. It's hard
Yeah,
to accept that sometimes, but that's okay.
that's
That's
okay.
okay. And then
I think it's about going with it. Like, okay, well, the cake didn't turn out. Yeah,
right.
okay, that was a big mistake. Let's figure, okay, what are we gonna do now? Am I gonna make a new cake or like find some frosting or I'm just
No,
gonna call them and get a new cake here. And
right.
it worked
Right.
out, thank
It
God.
worked out, but listen, if it didn't work out, then this day and age, we have Instacart
Yeah,
and we can get frosting. We can get a cake. We can, there are ways around anything if you have the know-how and the resources,
yeah,
to do so. And I I think, I'm always more of a yes person. Everything is a yes until it's a definite no.
right,
Like it's a yes until we exhaust all options to where it's a no.
right.
Which really rarely happens because I always feel like there's always a way. to do
Yeah.
something. There's always a way. It's just what do we need to make that happen? You know? Is it a different vendor? Is it more money? Is it, like what is the give and take to get that thing? But there's always a way,
Yeah, I
you know?
agree.
And I think you always have to go into it with that kind of positive energy and figure it out before you can't
Right.
with anything.
There's a life coach I follow, Marie Forleo. I don't know if you know who she is, but she always says everything is figure outable,
Everything is figure outable.
right?
That's like the motto I think of, like, well, it should be. It should be the motto of every planner.
Yes.
Like, everything is figure outable.
Yes.
You know, nothing is life or death. We can figure this out. Is it going to be exactly the way you envisioned? Let's try to make it that way. But if it can't for some reason or another, let's figure out a different way that gives you the same effect or the same feeling or the same whatever it may be.
Right. And I think also when we throw the party, we notice all the details and things that didn't work out the way we wanted to and could have done this and that. But the person coming to the party thinks, wow, this was amazing. Everything was so perfect and this and that. So I think as a person throwing the party, it's always, even when I go to other people's parties, I'm like, wow, that was amazing. And later I'll talk to them and they're like, yeah, but,
Yeah.
I could have done this different or this didn't happen. I was even at a wedding, Bobby's cousin, and it was beautiful. It was where we got married at the Biltmore. So it was nice to be there for her wedding. And she was actually one of our flower girls. And when it happened where they had to, I think they were under the chuppah and they had to break the glass, but it was the wrong glass. And yeah, so it was too hard. I don't know. There was something that went wrong.
Uh-oh. Oh
And
no. Did
we
it cut
had to
their
all
foot?
wait, yeah, for the party planner they had to go back in the room of the hotel, get whatever it was they were supposed to get, and bring it. So we were all waiting like for 15, 20 minutes,
Oh
and
wow.
but they handled it well. And Bobby's aunt was like making jokes and like,
Yeah.
while the party planner went to, get whatever it is they were supposed to get. But there was something that yeah, there was a mess up, and
Yeah.
it was fine. Everything turned out beautiful. So yeah, it's just rolling with the punches.
It's just rolling with the punches. Listen, life is still going to happen,
Yeah,
Life is still going to go on. Life isn't perfect.
yeah,
We try to make these moments as seamless as possible, but you can't help some things sometimes. And yeah, you just got to roll with the punches. You just got to roll with it.
yeah,
As long as you can roll with it. Don't stress. Well, everything is figure outable. We'll get it figured out.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, what advice do you have for all our creative spirits out there? What words of wisdom that they could take home with them? Besides this whole podcast, like there were so many nuggets, but what's something
Words
we
of
can end with?
wisdom. I think for people who are starting,
Yeah, it could be people who are starting or, to get out there and
I think
do
always
something
stay true.
creative.
Yeah, I think especially for creatives, always stay true to who you are. Don't try to be who you think other people need you to be. Don't try to be something that you're not. If something doesn't feel right, you know, go in the direction that feels right for yourself, because as long as you're passionate about it and you buy into it, other people will do that. But if you try to be something that you're not, or try to go in a direction that feels disingenuous to who you are, that's going to show up in your work. And I think the most important thing for creatives is to show up as you are and to give of yourself and of your creativity in the best way that you know how, because that's what makes you unique and special, and that's what's going to drive your business forward is you and your mind and your creativity and what you can offer, because that's what's the most unique thing about us as creatives. So I think just always lead with being genuine to yourself first, and that will translate to other people.
Beautifully said. Authenticity is the key, right?
Authenticity. Yes, it is. It is the key. It's the key to everything,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I love that. Thank you.
Of course.
And
Thank you for
tell us where people can find you and connect with
Oh,
you.
thank you. You can find me on Instagram at Erin Bina Events. Um, it has my email, has my website, which I probably need to update with more recent photos. But mostly my Instagram. It has, yeah, it has my email. I think it has my number, but you can always DM me if you're interested in working with me. And I always love meeting new people. So if you're in need of a great party planner, you let me know.
Love that. And
Thank
that
you.
will be all in the show notes.
Thank
And it was such a pleasure having you on finally. And this
you.
is probably, I told you this, podcast number 160, who knows,
That's
five or six.
incredible. That's incredible. I mean,
Yeah,
wow.
it's been quite a
Thank
journey.
thank you for having me on. Thank you for thinking of me.
Of
Thank
course.
you for making this podcast. I think it's so important for people to have something like this where they get to hear from different creatives in any field. And it's just, you're so lovely. You're so wonderful. And I'm just so thankful and appreciative
That's
for this opportunity.
This is why I do this. Part of the reason why I love doing this is because I get to meet and really get to know people, who I've seen their work and I admire them from afar, and then I really get to delve into their story and their lives.
Yeah.
I didn't get to do that while we were working together. You don't have time for all that. And then after, when things calmed down and I was able to sit with you and talk with you. And I just love hearing people's stories and their journey. I just find everyone has this beautiful, inspiring story within them. And yeah, I want people to hear about it. So thank you and this is your first podcast. So good
My
job.
first podcast. I hope I did okay. I'm like, I don't know. Am I sounding okay? Am I sounding like
You
what do
did
I sound like?
great.
I don't know. Um but thank you. Like thank you so much for having me on. This was lovely and beautiful, and especially doing it with you, who someone who is just so full of heart and you care so much. It's very meaningful.
My pleasure.